It's true. When you add up all the spins, state records confirm Magic City Casino returned nearly 94% of credits to players, more than any other pari-mutuel site. Casino Miami at Miami Hialeah and Hialeah Park Casino returned about 93% each. Gulfstream, Mardi Gras, and Isle of Capri were next most generous at around 92%. And the stingiest slots in town were at Calder, at just under 91%. But Calder says it has a generous free spin rewards program.
What caught my eye was the flashes you're running.
Our chief concern is the safety and transport of all students. So we take every violation very seriously.
But in most cases, it takes several violations within a year before a driver can be suspended.
It would be under your system okay for someone to run 3 red lights in a year before they get a recommendation for a suspension.
I wouldn't state that it's okay. Any infraction is frowned upon by our district.
Both Miami-Dade and Broward have forgiving systems. The Miami-Dade driver running these lights, she'd already been suspended from work for driving with a suspended license, and we found she's been ticketed 37 times since she was hired in 2001, 12 times on a school bus.
Why is this driver still on the road?
In accordance with the Safe Driver Plan, if they have reached a threshold of a recommendation for a suspension or a recommendation for termination, that has been carried out.
But to get disciplined, a driver needs to be convicted. The school board stresses only a small percentage of tickets lead to convictions and discipline. Broward County has a similar policy. There, we found one driver ticketed for causing 2 bus crashes in 2 years, another 2 crashes, 2 years, and Broward also had one who should not have been driving. Her license suspended for 4 months after failing to pay a ticket. In a statement, Broward told us safe and secure transportation is the highest priority, and they take appropriate disciplinary action when deemed necessary.
What do you think about these numbers?
They're outrageous. They really are.
CT scans, $57,000. MRIs, $24,000. And something called a trauma response fee, $23,445. That's the admission charge to Kendall's Trauma Center, a fee the hospital says reflects the cost of having a trauma team in the community available 24/7. So we wanted to know what others in the community charge for their trauma response fees. We analyzed 4 years of admissions to Jackson's Ryder Trauma Center and Broward House 2 centers. And when we compared their average trauma response fee to Kendall's, we found Kendall's 10 times higher.
Wow.
Serrano's totaled $94,000 for a few hours of care after a car crash. Halleck's nearly $346,000 over 12 days after a tree fell on him. To see how Kendall's charges compare, we analyzed total trauma charges for 20,000 admissions to South Florida trauma centers over 4 years. Jackson's Ryder Trauma Center and Broward House 2 centers averaged about $89,000. Kendall Regional's $140,000 higher. Kendall Regional is owned by the for-profit company HCA Holdings, which reported more than $2 billion in profits last year alone. Jackson and Broward's health systems are public, supported in part by tax dollars. But when we asked Kendall why its charges were so much higher, it did not give its for-profit status as a reason.
Usually when people report the identity theft, they'll report normally the bigger fraud, the credit cards that were ordered in their name, the loans that were taken on their names.
The FCC called the case alarming and says it received about 100 complaints nationwide. There are precautions you can take.
Call your cell phone provider and set up as much security as possible.
That's what Ed did. He now has an extra 4-digit PIN on his account. When we called his company, Verizon Wireless, they said they're working to stay one step ahead of the criminals. But the trick is balancing security with customer service.
4 months later, he got this letter saying the county was denying his claim because their trucks are equipped with a GPS system, and their findings show that the truck in question could not have done the damages as he stated.
You sure it was the garbage truck?
Yes, I saw
I saw.
So Ignacio contacted the NBC6 investigators and we began requesting public records. Almost a month later, we got the 311 call log confirming his complaint. Another month went by before we got the county's investigation report, which included a signed letter from the truck driver stating, "I never even traveled on the street that the customer alleges I turned from to cause the damages." In that report was a map with GPS coordinates showing the time their truck went by Ignacio's house. The county concluded their driver provided service for the area at approximately 10:26 a.m., not afternoon, as Mr. Amato has stated. They denied his claim.
This is not fair.
We then requested all the GPS coordinates for the truck's route that day and finally received them February 19th. The GPS data shows the truck actually went by Ignacio's house 2 times, once at 10:26 a.m. and again at 12:48 p.m., the time Ignacio said he saw the truck damage his yard. Once the county saw that discrepancy, they agreed to reconsider the case. And 2 months later, April 14th, they sent us this statement. A subsequent review of our documentation revealed that there was a truck in the vicinity of Mr. Amato's residence later that afternoon. While the department cannot say conclusively that his truck created the damage, based on the above discrepancy, we would like to assist the homeowner. The department sincerely apologizes and regrets any inconvenience Mr. Amato has experienced.
Fires like this are rare, but a big enough concern for safety groups to warn and educate doctors about what not to do. In Florida alone, there have been 125 operating room fires in the past 5 years, about 650 fires a year nationwide.
At no time was I informed that this was even a possibility. I never knew anything about it.
I'm embarrassed that this is happening. These people don't deserve that.
County records show more than $250,000 in unpaid wages were recovered last year. How much of that money is actually recovered? We don't know because the county doesn't have the power to force an employer to pay up.
Pulled over for speeding.
Oh, wow, what is this?
Making an illegal U-turn.
I'm very surprised that it went this far.
Ticketed for a broken taillight.
I feel betrayed.
The one thing these drivers all have in common, police pulled them over back in 2001. But state records now show it happened just last year.
I'm glad that you followed through with your investigation.
Our 6-month-long investigation revealed they are 3 of more than 2,200 drivers who had their ticket dates changed, causing this final notice from the state to show up in their mailboxes.
Final notice? Why? I never received anything.
That's why they jumped on the chance to get their money back from the Florida Homeowners Construction Recovery Fund, money that comes from a surcharge on all building permits. It reimburses up to $50,000 if you lost your money to a licensed contractor, got a judgment in your favor, and have no other way to collect the money.
I thought it was great. I said great.
But 10 years after writing the check, they haven't seen any money back. The state fund says it's awaiting additional paperwork from the family. That's the case for a full 33% of those who have applied. Just 29% of the more than 1,000 people who have applied have gotten their money back.